Hello, light seers and game changers and soul warriors. It's Juniper Blue Mystique here, and I'm coming on with a video that I need to talk about, okay? And it is the Ascension. Ooh, fun stuff, right? But we are all going through something. That is a guarantee. And I don't know about you, but it's an internal world. And that's kind of what I want to talk about a little bit, is how the Ascension is like manifesting. It's an internal journey, okay? And the more you bring what's going on inside outside and allow others in, it can totally muck up your ascension. All right, so I want to talk about that a little bit. Before I get into that, I'll introduce myself a little bit. My name is Juniper Blue Mystique, sometimes known as Brianna. I am the one who brought about the Ascension, okay? What does that mean, right? That sounds kind of like egotistical, right? But it's not. What that means is I changed the planet. I moved the poles. I did something to the moon. I do something to the sun a lot, including take chunks and throw it into the earth. And you can kind of see that now. I activated pyramids. I freed Jesus' soul. And in the end, my DM and I united the twin flames. Okay. And I still have yet to meet my new one. So my journey is not over. And it's exciting. But none of our journey is really over, right? And so it's kind of what I want to talk about today. It's a little important. Is that why do we have a hard time living in an internal world? We're always searching external, and that's what they taught us to do, right? Even when we talk about manifesting, we talk about keep it on the inside. Do not share too much of what you do, what you feel, what you're thinking, what you're trying to bring about. And why is that? Because people will muck it up, right? Just a little energy that doesn't mesh can totally throw your manifesting off, okay? Same thing with the Ascension, and I've learned this on my journey. You know, my compass has been brought back to center a couple times. I'm like, how the hell did I get so thrown off? Where did that happen? And it truly happens with allowing energies in that do not serve you, that do not belong, right? It's opening up the fact that your ascension is personal. It's an internal journey that is personal only to yourself. Is it playing out in the external? It does. But first it plays out on the internal of yourself. Okay? And that is why when we have an awakening, we are rearranged to people who don't align with us. We are brought into a space where you kind of do feel like you're crazy, right? Because everything is on the internal. You're like, don't you see this? Don't you experience this? Not everybody does. And then you'll get the energies of, oh, I'm not normal, right? And so one of the most important things to consider is, are you putting out or in too much that doesn't belong? Okay. And we are a creature, we are a species of union and love, right? Like we like to be accepted. We like to be together. We like people to accept us. We want to find our tribe. We want to find those that relate to us and to what we do. Right? We really do. And so we want to share our story. We want people to understand. We want to fit in, and we want to find our tribe, and so on and so forth. And even on my journey, I can tell there's times where I have succumbed to other people's judgments or jealousies. You know, oh man, even growing up, I had to keep my light smaller than those that were around me because we didn't want to rock the boat, so to speak, right? We didn't want to make them feel uncomfortable or less than just by our presence. And so this is the energy I want to talk about right now. It's very important, okay? Because it's thrown me off, and I know it's thrown my DM off. And I know because when you have a big heart and you are a healer, you're very sensitive to these things, right? They call it empathy, right? That's just a little term for the extent of what we can feel, all right? And so it's really easy for us to be swayed by other people's opinions and energies, right? Maybe their path is different. Maybe they're a little jealous on why things seem so easy for you, and that wrench gets thrown in and you miss a mark. Right? Because we're no longer internal, we're becoming external again. 444. This is a very important message. Guys, I've been making epoxy resin stuff. This is an incense holder. Check this one out. I really like these, by the way. is my other incense holder. I like this a lot. This will be up for sale. Isn't that badassery? And my pyramids are finally coming out. Ooh, this one's like Mount Shasta. That's what this one reminds me of. So I'm super happy about that. Ooh, and I have my new deck out, you guys. I have my new deck out. So on my path, right? This is something I've been working on for a while. Some people know about it. Some people may not. But I created my own deck of cards in my Ascension path during my twin flame thing. So when David was alive, that's when I started this deck, and it was completed. I can't remember if I completed it right before he passed or right after, but the energies of this card are very potent, very filled with love. It's a really good deck. I love this deck. I only have a few left up for sale. It is an extreme unique deck. I did not conform to their thing. I wanted to keep it original to itself, so I only have about 4 left for sale. So if you guys want that, I will put a link below. It's a highly intuitive deck. It is a high vibrational deck, so it's not one that comes with a book. It's one you're supposed to tune into and let the cards speak to you. It's from our loved ones on the other side. Okay, so just a little sidebar, little note while I was messing with my epoxy thing. It bent. But this journey is an internal journey. It's not an external one. And this happened to my DM so much so. It's like you want to make people happy. You want to please people. My original DM. I don't know my new one. He's such a sweetheart though. But that's the thing, right? Is when you have a big heart, when you can feel people's emotions, you get this thing where you don't want to leave people behind. Now, on the Ascension, do we have a choice? If you get into a space where you're afraid to leave people behind on the Ascension, what are you doing to your own Ascension path? Okay, then where does that put you? If your Ascension does not align to those people, and maybe you're supposed to be over here, and there is supposed to be some separation going on between the two of you, maybe it's temporary. It's been my experience sometimes when we separate with individuals, we can come back together when our energies align again. Right? But we get into this space where, oh man, I'm going to hurt them. I'm going to leave them behind. I'm going to hurt these people. If I accept that my path is different now, if I follow that internal nudge, right? And then they're going to think I'm crazy because nobody understands what I'm going through or why my nudge is saying that. Try being me. I've been telling you guys I cut off life support to California a long time ago, but now we're starting to see all the lakes dry up, right? What did that mean when I said it? We didn't know. But I could have let people's judgments or thoughts and opinions muck up the work that I did. Well, why would I talk about it if there's no instant gratification, which is what people like? Kind of like the marshmallow psychology test. People have a hard time with delayed gratification or delayed proof. They like instant proof. They like instant stuff right in your face, which is how the media gets you, right? But at this stage on our Ascension path, if we are not internal exploring and internal following those nudges and not sharing too much externally, or at least allowing those that don't belong to muck it up, we can be in trouble. Okay, so this is an internal journey more than it is an external one. For the Ascension, things will happen to you internally. You have to make choices internally before it reflects in your external environment. And you can suffer until you get there. Right? Like I've talked about it. It's like resistance is futile, my friends. It is. You don't have an option when I change the planet so much, right? I changed the planet to, what I say, to 7D. No longer 5D, right? I changed the planet to 7D. No longer 5D. So therefore, we have to match the energies. And if you don't, your world, your surroundings will try to adjust for you to do so. Okay? So that's what I mean by resistance is futile. We try to hold on to things that don't exist anymore in this reality, and it hurts. You know? Like I said, I've found myself off my path a couple times. And a lot of times it's because of energy of jealousy. That's a big one, right? I talk about psychic attacks and I talk about energy, and that's why it has to be an internal journey, not an external journey. Okay? Super important. Because if you allow others' energies to muck up yours on the Ascension, you can miss something for you on your ascension path. Okay. And it's critical mass. That's what I would call this time right now. It's like critical mass. It's critical time frame. It's critical moments right now. It is critical. Okay. Now is the time where we need to be tuning in. We need to be growing as an individual self. We need to be releasing and healing on the internal and drawing in the energy from the earth on the internal. And if we're too busy letting people sway us, letting people's guilt or jealousy get in our way, and then we're always like, well, what if I do this? Am I going to hurt somebody? We got to stop that. We have to be willing in this lifetime to leave those behind that need to be left behind, because the thing is are we really leaving them behind, or are we giving them the chance to grow? And I talk about this, right? If we're not willing to step up and step out of the norm, quote unquote, then they won't be either, usually speaking. Okay? Very rarely, right? It has to be the leaders of the pack. So, are you a leader or are you a follower? And are you internally exploring right now, or are you allowing outside energies to muck up your flow, to throw you off your path? Because even my compass got thwarted, and I'm looking back going, how did it get thwarted so bad? From heartache, from what others did and what others think. Mostly my DM story, but still, right? Like, why should we let what anybody else does or thinks sway us from where our heart knows that we need to be or where we need to go? And you know what? We get into this guilt and shame and like it's our responsibility. And there is a side of that where, loving each other is important. Taking care of one another is important. Making sure we don't hurt other people is important. But if our internal journey says we need to go over here and leave these people behind, are we hurting them if we don't? Now that is the question. Are we really hurting them if we don't? I would say we're hurting them more if we don't, and ourselves. Right? But everybody's got this feeling like guilty. Like, if I go do this, I'm the outcast now. I'm leaving my family behind. I have to be alone. And so the ascension is an internal journey where we do have to spend some times alone. Okay? So if you don't like being alone, and maybe you're physically around people, but it's an internal journey, right? So just imagine you're sitting in a room full of people and they have no idea who you are on the inside. That's what I'm talking about. Like, we have to be willing to be alone. We have to be willing to internally explore. And we have to be willing, just like in manifesting, to not let anything come up and take us off our path. We can't. Like, I can't let people sway me because they're jealous or they have opinions or they think that they could do better than I did on the ascension journey. I've gotten that one thrown at me a few times. I've had a few people throw energy at me that they think that they could do the ascension better than I did. And here's the thing, though, is there's been like people who tried to do what I did and died. I'm the first one to survive. Bringing Jesus and Mary Magdalene back together. Okay. So people can think and do whatever it is they want. Don't allow that to affect you. Don't allow that to sway your journey. Okay. It's more of an internal journey, not an external exploration so much. It can be at times when we find those that we align with, right? But even then, it's still an external exploration. So it's learning to change our compass. It's learning to go from an external environment to an internal one. But we were taught what? That that's selfish. We were taught that that was the ego. But in truth, it's the opposite. Okay? It's like we can't please everyone, right? We can't. And when we are in the ascension path, people will try to throw you off. So it's just like manifesting. Do not put your energy out there where people are going to muck it up for you. Okay? It's not about who's better than the other. It's not about anything like that. This is literally about two worlds, okay? And maybe your path is different than theirs, or maybe they require you to step outside of that relationship for them to grow. Okay? be careful what energy you allow in and what energy you're putting out. Turn the compass more inward. It is an internal exploration. Okay, that's heart-centered. Go into your heart space, do creations from there, do actions and movements from there. And by golly gee gosh, you guys, if something comes up, it's like, it gets me where we're like, I don't have this and I don't have that. And that's the lack mentality. If you want something, bring it. Create it. Tell Spirit, I need this and I need it now. Show me how to get it. But then you have to act on the prompts, whether you believe in them or not. Okay? Because our reality has shifted. We have anchored into another new timeline. I felt it. I felt it this morning. And then I felt a nudge of like, okay, now get back on track. The compass shifted again. Okay, my compass shifted back to where it was, where it should have been. Okay. So we have to be careful. Don't do things because of other people. Don't do things because you're afraid to lose people. Don't do things because out of fear in any way, shape, or form. This is an external exploration. It's an internal reality at this point, right? So, and that's different from the way we usually live. The way we usually live is like pack conforming. We really do. Right? Like there's like a pecking order, kind of like the hogs in a way. We don't like to live alone. Okay. And so that's what's hard right now is we do have to kind of find our path that's alone sometimes right now in the Ascension. Okay. Getting through those portals is usually an individual aspect. All right. So we may have to separate from some energies, go through our Ascension portals, and then come back with them on the other side if they make it through. But it's an individual Ascension. Okay. So the ones you've been following with, maybe they aren't going to make it through. And that's where my DM had the hardest time, my original DM. And that's what they kept trying to tell him is get away from the rat race. Because they were people that just kept making him feel guilty and feel guilty and feel guilty. And in the end, he died. Okay? I'm not sitting here saying you're all going to die, but I'm sitting here telling you that the Ascension is an internal exploration. It's an internal reality. It's an internal journey. And we have to be willing to take the internal ride. Don't let others sway you. Don't worry about others. That doesn't mean that we can't share our journey like, hey, look at this. We can plant seeds for people, right? But if they don't align, if they're not seeing it, don't hate yourself for that. Don't think there's anything wrong with you. We have to allow separation of tides. We have to allow separation of certain contracts, certain energies in order to grow and to ascend at this time, okay? And so if you find yourself separating from certain people, they can come back around. They just need to do work. You need to do work, and maybe the work does not align, and eventually it will, okay? But just like in manifesting, don't let the wrong energies in right now because your compass will go floop and be completely flipped upside down. It's happened to me a couple times, okay? Especially with this twin flame journey and a lot of like jealousy energies and things like that. It's just what it is. It's out there. Trust me. Okay? But if we are more of an internal explorer, that's where you can bypass. Those things don't need to bother you. Okay? Is it selfish? Is it selfish to say, hey, I've got this compass, I'm going to follow it and leave them behind? What is selfish? Could selfish be not following that and hurting yourself and then hurting them in the long run? Because maybe they need you to step forward. Maybe they need that separation from your energy in order to return back to that light. You see what I'm saying? So consider it. Consider that it is an individual journey. It's an internal exploration at this point. This is the path we are now on. Okay? And if that is thwarted, if you allow that to get you, it can be painful. All right? Do we need each other? Yes. But we need the right energies. Okay? So don't be afraid to be alone right now. Don't be afraid to separate from things that no longer serve you or people that no longer serve you. Don't be afraid to have big changes. They can be jarring. They really can when your whole world changes from location to job to people around you. It can be pretty jarring. But continue internally exploring. Continue raising that vibration. Continue releasing what no longer serves you. Okay? Very important. So, that's today's very important message. It is an internal exploration. It's just like manifesting, is where people can throw off your compass quicker than not. And do not ever let anybody else's shortcomings or miscomings or issues affect yours. Do not stop yourself from shining your light because others are not shining theirs. It's super important, okay? This is an individual journey. If you're not willing to follow that internal light because of somebody else, of guilt, of shame, of fear, of regret, or jealousy, you're in trouble. You're the one who's going to get hurt. And not only you, but them too. All right? So that's the message today. That's where we're at on the Ascension path. Super important. All right. So much love to all of you. I'll see you later.